Are you too busy to create YouTube content consistently? Well, today I interview someone that has the perfect solution for the busy content creator: batch producing. Jesse Meunch is a basketball coach who's uploaded almost 1,200 videos during his time on YouTube and knows how to be consistent. Today he'll be sharing how he did it and his tips for you to create more content faster. All that and more coming up on the VI show right now.
This video is brought to you by vidIQ, the #1 Chrome extension for YouTubers looking for on-point data analysis, research resources, and enhanced video creator tools. Start getting more views in less time today by signing up for free at vidiq.com/influence. That's vidiq.com/influence.
What's up, influencers? That's right. My name is Benji Travis, and this is Video Influencers. We're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. Sean and I started this channel to interview the people crushing it on YouTube so you could also learn how to crush it. We're also the co-authors of YouTube Secrets, so make sure you get a copy on Amazon, on Audible. But without further ado, Jesse, welcome to the VI show.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to be here.
For
Appreciate
sure.
you having me on.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump right into it because you did something super impressive, which is you created 3 years of content in 30 days. And I know that wasn't necessarily the goal. In fact, you were trying to create a 1 years of content, but you created so much you had that option. So let's take it back on how you got started and why you led yourself to this point of batch producing for such a long amount of time, because anybody with an excuse on not having enough time to be consistent is going to be squashed today, because that is a massive task, but you were able to do it. And to this day, you have this option of having videos come out every week because of that.
Yeah, so basically, it came somewhat out of necessity and a little bit out of fear. So basically, I was living in Wisconsin at the time, Fond du Lac. It's a city about an hour north of Milwaukee. And me and my wife had just gotten married, and we decided the housing market was really expensive there. So we were looking at houses down in Florida, and we're like, well, maybe let's give this Florida thing a try. But the problem was I had consistent, cheap access to a gym up in Wisconsin. And I didn't know if I was going to have that down in Florida before we moved down. So I was like, well, I guess let's get a whole bunch of stuff filmed, so that way I'm set, with all the filming, all the videos, ideas, and all that side of things. Didn't get them all edited ahead of time, but just basically decided to batch as many as I could with the, basically, I don't know if you want to get right into the process now, but the content ideas and the filming and all of that.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I love that story too, because that motivation is what's pushed you. It wasn't just like you woke up one day and it's like, you know what, I want to create 3 years of content in the next 30 days. It was that extreme moment, but anybody can learn from it. In fact, Sean and I on this channel, we've talked about it. It's like, we hang out for a few days at the end of the year. What if we just extended that to 2 weeks? We could probably bang out all 52 videos, because we try to do at least one upload every single week in like those 2 weeks. It's totally possible. We've never followed through and done it, but you actually accomplished this. So my first question following up that story of yours is, what was your format? Like, how did you spend your 30 days? What did you do first? What was the next step? Did you plan every video out first and then record it? Or was it like video by video?
So yeah, basically just on my phone, I've got the iPhone Notes app, and in there I have a note for video ideas for YouTube. And anytime I would come up with an idea, I would put it in the note, and I'd use like TubeBuddy or whatever to kind of optimize some of them, or think like, okay, this is a really click-worthy, subject. And so I just kept adding stuff to there. Most of it was done before I started filming, but the thing I really thought was interesting was, number one, as I was bulk planning, I would easily come up with more ideas, because like one idea would lead to another, or a variation or whatever. And then also as I'm filming, I'm like, oh, that's another video idea. So it was kind of cool how everything kind of fed on each other, and it really helped actually make the process easier because I was doing it all at once.
Totally. That's interesting that you mentioned that. And when you push yourself to an extreme like that, because you have to, you didn't know if you're going to have a gym, you didn't have a place to record, and you have to do it. When you get into the research, and we use vidIQ, but like TubeBuddy just the same, you start getting ideas, right? Because you'll research one thing and you'll find another search result, or a trending topic, or something related, or maybe the video you can make maybe can get split up into 3. So it's interesting to me that throughout that progression, you'll pop out way more videos, and maybe this is one of the reasons you do have 3 years. But then let's dive into the content creation. One thing that's interesting is we talk about batch producing in 1 day, but you did it over a course of 30 days. What was your recording session like? Did you have someone helping you film? Did you have one format, multiple formats? What was the production like?
Yeah, so for the most part, things were pretty consistent on the production side of things. Basically, it's just me. I would go to the gym. Usually I would run with 2 cameras. I just set them up at separate angles so I can kind of switch between the angles and, kind of keep things visually interesting. And then I would do B-roll after. So I just set those up on tripods. Basically, everything I did by myself, except for if I have maybe my wife help me, she would play defense or hold the camera or whatever. Yeah, she's been great that way. And yeah, basically it was just me and a couple cameras, and mainly at that gym. I really didn't do too much outside of that gym, and I would just try to find little ways to maybe use different angles so the videos didn't get too, formatted and stale. Because, if people see the same exact looking content over 3 years, I'm sure they might get bored. So I had to kind of keep that in mind.
Totally. Yeah. Sean and I, we've never done anything as extreme as you, but we definitely would do things like angle changes, but outfit changes, right? By the way, I'm wearing my Seattle Sonics jersey. This is my favorite piece of clothing. But normally when we're like recording, we have like, kind of the same look, but different color shirts. Do you do something like that too, in addition to like changing up the angles? Because it's interesting, because sometimes I don't feel like it's as important, but over the course of a year, it's probably good to mix it up. What were some other things that you considered doing?
Yeah, I have a bunch of shirts like this, different colors. I switch those up. I would switch outfits up from time to time. Sometimes I would just do some wild angles, camera angles way up high.
Yeah.
I would think definitely about the variety of the content that I was talking about. So not just all, like, my channels get handles, but I mix in, some passing, some layups, some shooting. Just topics that are different, as far as like, okay, this video is a drill video, this video is a ball handling video, or I should say a move video, and then this video is more of a tips video. So I have 3 formats that I can kind of rely on for each of those categories of passing, shooting, etc. So that was one thing I definitely kept in mind. I'd say that was the main things as far as trying to keep the variety there.
Now, awesome. And I love this whole research period and pumping out more video ideas, and then really just focusing on one place, simplifying the process, but getting, the help of someone, maybe not a professional, right? Like a camera person, but just anybody that's going to assist you. But it wasn't complex. Then you've got all this content, and any content creator knows, even from one video, you can kind of be overwhelmed with this mass amounts of content. My first question is, how did you tackle that? And my second kind of fun question I want you to answer first is, how many gigs of video did you have? I imagine it's like extra hard drives, maybe like your laptop was completely full. What was the editing process like afterwards?
So actually, that's the one thing I don't have done on everything yet. I basically, right now I'm ahead. I've got videos private ready to go for about another, at this point yet, still like probably 15 weeks. Wow. So I still got a lot of editing to do yet. But I did get a lot edited before we moved down. And then once we moved down, I got a lot edited too, as I was still trying to figure out the gym situation. But yeah, that's definitely one of the more difficult things to try to compress the time, because editing is just very, very, time consuming. Yeah. And the thumbnails, of course.
For sure. And that all makes sense, obviously. That's the thing. Like, getting the content recorded is so important. But, one mistake I know a lot of people make is maybe they forgot to record something, or they didn't get the right shot and they're in the editing process. Like, oh, dang it. So it seems that you've been very successful at creating all this content at once and then editing it as time goes on. You had enough for a whole year. You extended it by lowering your upload rate. But let's get into some practical tips. What would be your advice for people that might want to do this, whether they're also a sport channel or they're a tutorial channel for information or even entertainment? What are things that you learned that you would suggest to other people to batch produce at the highest levels? Even if it's not for 30 days, maybe it's just for 3 days or 3 hours, right? For multiple videos. What would be the best takeaways you got from your experience that people should hear about in relation to these different, parts of content creation?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I think one of the biggest things was having certain processes and formats that I could rely on, and within that, you'll actually find there's a lot of creativity as far as, so like, first example, planning the videos. I would be like, I'm going to set aside this time. And as you start to get into the process, you start coming up with more ideas. But also on top of that, just having like, okay, I would go to the gym, and the more I went to the gym, like this was before I started to bulk do videos, I realized that, hey, if I'm at the gym 2 hours, I can usually get about 6 videos done. So from that, I was able to kind of plan out, okay, so I need to spend this many hours at the gym so I can get this many videos done. And I would always keep tabs on the clock too. So I'd be like, okay, I'm on pace, I'm not on pace. I need to pick up the pace. So from there, I was making sure I was getting enough content out. And then the other big thing I would say is just having an idea as far as the format for your videos, right? I know I need to get my B-roll. I know I got to get my intro. I know I got to have call to action figured out for that video, whether it's to send them to another video or to my website or whatever. And then within that, the structure for the main points I want to talk about in the video. For me, I just use bullet points. I know some people are a little more scripted. And I think a lot of those processes, just because I'd already been on YouTube for years, kind of happen subconsciously and naturally. And I'm like, I know I need to do this. But for someone that's a little bit newer, I would say maybe just say, okay, I got to get this, and this filmed for each video. And just having that idea ahead of time makes the batching process a lot easier. And even then, like you mentioned, I realized I forgot to film some stuff. So sometimes I would film some stuff in an outdoor court down here, or do a voiceover with an image or whatever.
For sure. And that's such a great, I'd say, takeaway is you didn't start off tackling 30 days of content creation. You started off just doing weekends, right? And 2 hours and figuring out how much you can create. And then you just calculate, hey, if I stayed longer. And I think anybody can learn from that. Another thing I heard too is once you get into the creation process, you start building a format that works for you, from something that works and gets views on your channel to like what is going to help you record the most content the fastest. So everything from like what you're going to show before the initial hook, or are you going to do the hook first? And then you start building this intro. I know that we've actually worked on our intro for this channel over the course of like a year and a half for the VI show. And what I find is every single week when I say it over and over and over, it like gets ingrained in your mind. So even you talking on camera, the call to actions, the outro, it almost becomes instinct. So it makes the video recording process easier. Would you say that's what happened with you? And are there any other things that you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That repetition for sure. I can relate to that. Like, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Jesse Meunch with Get Handles Basketball. Today we're gonna, I can just do it off the top of my head. Yeah. Every video, the way I finish it. But and if you thought this was helpful, make sure you check out this video because that's what you're gonna want to watch next. Those little rhythms and things that you want to talk about start to become habit. I would definitely say that's a big thing. And just some of even the cameras, like knowing where they should be and things like that, it starts to become habit. Okay, I've been in this spot for so long. Now I want to move the camera so I have a different angle. Some of those things just start to happen a little more naturally without you having to put as much thought into it, which, they say repetition is the mother of learning. Well, some of those processes, it's kind of cool how those can become automatic, just like tying your shoes.
Totally. I'm sure you learned a lot from your basketball history. We were talking all about content creation, right? Your channel, Get Handles, is all about basketball, but there's a lot of principles in that you can apply to this. I think one of the biggest principles I've gotten, I have a background playing all kinds of sports, soccer, basketball, taekwondo, is discipline. Having the discipline to go to practice. I mean, as a kid, you kind of have to. Your parents bring you, right? But it's funny. It's like that's one of the greatest lessons you can get from sports. That you have to practice every single week, multiple times a week to be ready for the game. And you can't just like stop. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep playing games year after year. And that's why you've become somebody that not only has this crazy nickname, you went on to play and won, but how has discipline played into this process? And what would be your advice for other people that maybe didn't have that experience building that discipline through a sport, to have the discipline to edit all that content? That's what's so crazy to me. It's one thing to record it, but to edit it week after week. Do you have any tips there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I've learned this just from basketball too, it's definitely one of those things, like you said, it carries over, is to just get started. Like on the day where you don't feel like it, just commit to like, you know what, I'll just spend 5 minutes editing. Yeah. And once you get moving and you get started, you get a little momentum going. It's a lot easier to keep rolling with it. I think that's the biggest thing I can give. And besides that, just to have, certain habits and rituals and things that you do on a daily basis, so those become automatic. That's one thing I teach to the players a lot too, is like, if you're always just relying on motivation, that can be there one day and not the next. But if you have this habit, every day I wake up and I do this, every time after I get done with school, whatever, I do this. Same with video editing or going to film. Just having that habit of, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm at least going to show up for a little bit and then get the momentum going. I think that's big.
Wow. I've actually never heard that so clearly said, that the master of discipline is really habit and getting into that routine. I can relate to that. This show happens every Saturday morning. There's some Friday nights where me and the wife, we're trying to relax, get ready for the weekend. And Saturday morning, it's looking kind of rough to wake up early and prep for it, but I haven't missed a show other than when I had a baby and Sean took over for a few weeks, right? But that habit has led to this discipline. I never even thought of it that way, that like, oh yeah, like I am like so disciplined because this has become a habit of mine. Like I don't even have a choice because it's so normal for me. I love that thing. I've actually never heard of anybody saying it that way. And of course, kind of goes back to the sports, right? You don't even think about skipping a practice if you're really focused on succeeding in that sport. What would be your last kind of takeaways? All this has been great. I love that you taught people the importance of research and you get more ideas, batch producing and recording and kind of like timing how long it takes to record. And then also lastly, like having the discipline to edit, week after week, and then just getting started. Sometimes you just need to, make that first step to get that momentum. What are some other last takeaways you got from this experience? And also, do you think you'll do this again? Is this something that you've enjoyed and you felt was beneficial enough to be able to, do it again in the future, regardless if you're moving or not?
Yeah. I think a big thing I've learned too is just, I kind of touched on this with like the creation process of hard as coming up with the video ideas, but even like with editing in bulk, after a while you start doing it over and over, and that can lead to some more creative ideas. And besides that, I just think the thing I've enjoyed the most about it is how it's kind of now freed me up to like explore different content ideas in a different way. Like I've got a new camera, I got the Insta360 now, and I started messing around with doing more TikTok. So it's just kind of freed up my mental space a little bit and time to do some of those things. And just have the freedom on a day-to-day basis. Like if me and my wife want to go to the beach now, we just go. Totally. I think that's been worth it. And if I would do it again, I would say yes, maybe not to quite the extreme. But I'll tell you this much. I've had this philosophy even before I did the 30 days, that if I'm going to go film, I think it's foolish to just film one video because of all the time it takes to set up the camera, make sure everything's charged, all that. Like you don't realize how much time that takes out of your day, and then you just get one video out of it. Like why not get 5, and then you don't have to repeat that process every time. So those I think are my big takeaways.
Yeah, that's actually one of the number one things I share with people is, you already have to set up that camera and the lights. If you're someone that requires lights, you're going to have to put it onto SD card, and all that process takes a finite amount of time. But recording the videos, like, you don't have to do anything extra for the other videos except to actually record that video. But if you don't have a space in your house where you can record, like, I've got this studio here, so we just turn on the power and we can record. But most people, especially if you're just getting started, don't have that luxury. So I love that. I want to give some shout outs real quick to some people on here. We've got some of our regulars: Michael Groff, Journey to Wellness. Thank you for being a member of the VI Club. We got Rasmus's message from Spirit, the Swedish car guy. Again, let us know where you guys are watching from. Swedish car guy says, I shoot videos every Sunday and then edit and then fix. I want to pull that back up usually. I can't read that fast. And fix it and upload it on Saturday night. I think that's my last question before we get into Q&A, Jesse. When you're uploading content to YouTube, do you also batch that process? And secondly, do you schedule them like way ahead of time? So do you have like 4 already scheduled?
Yeah. So to some degree, yes. I bulk edit usually. I haven't edited in a while because I haven't had to, but usually I'll edit 3 videos at a time, and then I'll upload them, or then I'll do the thumbnails, 3 thumbnails, and then I'll upload them all at the same time. And then bulk do like the descriptions, the end screens, all that stuff. And then from there, when it depends if like I'm going to go on a trip somewhere, or, like sometimes we'll go up to Wisconsin for Christmas. Then I'll schedule a bunch of videos out, and when we moved down here, because I knew I was going to be tied up for a good 2-3 weeks, I scheduled those out. But besides that, I typically just kind of like look at what's performing well right now. Maybe is it, do kids have tryouts coming up, and try to like put a schedule of just one video, the next video, based on kind of what's, going on in the world at the moment.
Awesome. Love it. And I mean, this has been a great interview in relation to batch producing. You are like the master. I've never met anybody that created it. And I just love your process and how you have things scheduled. I think time freedom is the biggest takeaway for me. Like you mentioned, going to the beach with your wife and having that time, not only to enjoy life, but also give your brain a moment to think. So that is something that I strive for too. And, I can't really recreate a live show. Like I can't batch produce that because I like being live. I love, talking about current events. But if you've got a channel like yours, you can totally do that. But I'm going to challenge myself this year. I'm going to batch produce enough for 3 months before the end of 2020. Mutually, you just heard it right here.
Heard it right here.
I want to hear from everybody watching. What are you going to challenge yourself to batch produce? Put it in the comments down below. Put it in the chat. I'm going to actually read right now. Do we have any people? Like, you can pull them up as you go. But Jesse, my last question before we get into actual Q&A is let's pull up Jesse's channel right here. You started this channel from the OG days of YouTube, right? And I'm showing your oldest videos. I'm actually just gonna pull up one of these. This is a kind of an interesting one, right?
Oh, this is gonna be embarrassing.
It's all good, man. No, I love that. The date on this is 2006, right?
Yep.
That's like you are OG, right? And so this is you doing some moves. Here, let me go here. Obviously, and I'm sure you do all kinds of stuff, even better than this. Looks like kind of a sizzle reel. And you went on to, work with NBA stars. I think I saw a video. In fact, let me try to pull that up. I saw another video. I'm gonna see if it's where would be that sizzle reel. You had a cool sizzle reel where you were like literally with like NBA stars. Let me see. I can't find it, but point being, right? You've had this long history. Before we end and go to Q&A, did you ever think this was going to happen when you uploaded in 2006, that you would be this coach for literally hundreds of thousands of people online, and you took something that you loved and obviously you played passionately and won tours, working with NBA stars, and now you do this for a living? And what would be kind of your just final takeaways from that experience, from being on this platform for 15 years, bro? Congratulations, by the way. Oh, here's a video. So this is like legit, man. NBA playoffs. You guys, this is Jesse showing his stuff. And I think later on in this clip, there you go. Is that LeBron James?
Yep, it was an ESPN commercial we did.
Oh, that's so crazy. So anyways, looking at this content, looking at your history, did you ever think this was going to happen? And what would be your takeaways and your just final tips for people who are just starting out and not knowing what the future holds?
Yeah, for sure. I've got a lot of big takeaways on both for basketball and YouTube, all that stuff, business. First of all, I was a bench warmer in grade school in a small town where everybody plays. So if I managed to, be on ESPN commercials, have a full-time job doing something that I was not very good at, I think that shows like anything that you're looking to get better at. If you put the time in, you have that consistency, you build habits, you stick with it. And I think also the mental side of things, like, just understanding how can I get better from my time? How can I get more out of my time filming? How can I learn the business side of things so now I can make this a career? Because YouTube alone probably wouldn't pay the bills. It definitely wouldn't pay the bills at this point. So I think it's just a matter of having that discipline and sticking with it, and just always looking for the next opportunity and try, and not being afraid to fail and try things out.
Man, I wish we started that interview with that story. Bench warmer to basketball phenom to basketball coach. Even NBA stars don't even have this longevity in basketball, right? Like after basketball, everyone knows when you're a professional sports player, sometimes the future is kind of unknown for you. You don't know what to do. Some people spend all their money. You took, a unfortunate situation of being a bench warmer, which I can kind of relate to too. Like I was like, when I was in soccer, like sometimes I was like bottom of the ladder, and you never know what life's going to bring. And it's all about consistency. And like you said, just get into the habit of doing. And what's so crazy is to look back at your and one videos and all your moves, you would never think that you were a bench warmer. So if you feel like you're a bench warmer in your life right now, look at Jesse's progression and know that there's definitely hope. We're going to get into Q&A right now. Let's pull up some of those comments of how people are challenging themselves to batch produce. And we're going to read all those. You guys, if you want to watch the full replay, you've got to be a member of the VI Club, so make sure you join that. We're going to get into that. But if you're live, you get to watch it for free. Click or tap the screen right here if you guys want to see the whole